How's it going, guys? It's Eclipse here, and today's video we're checking out the news for this week on Wot Console in terms of operations. We've got some massive sales coming into the game, as well as a few different other things to cover in this week. Obviously, you can skip ahead to the various points in the video if you want to. I'll have them laid out in the bottom for you guys, time-stamped. Otherwise, we'll get straight into the first one, which is the assignment hotel. This is a 5-star challenge awaits by what Wargaming have said, but it's basically an assignment where if you manage to get 60,000 XP in the next week, you'll be able to pick up 400 gold and approximately 300,000 silver as part of this. So basically, if you're playing, you're going to be able to pick up 400 gold and 300,000 silver as part of that. Now, moving on to the majority of this video, we have some pretty big sales in terms of this week. The essential bit of this week is that the whole Soviet tech tree is going to be on sale. You'll be able to pick up any Soviet tank between tiers 3 and tiers 6 for 50% off. You'll also get a 30% off any tier 7s to 10s, which means that if you've not managed to pick up any of the tier 10 Soviet tanks that you want to pick up, they will be 30% off, which is going to be around 4.2 million silver if you want to actually be able to get them in-game. Now, as part of this, additionally, you will get 25% XP bonus on every single Soviet tech tree tank, which is fantastic. I'm not going to lie, you're going to be able to pick up a lot of extra free XP, and considering the Soviet line is actually a really good one to go down as a beginner player, you're going to have some really nice games, I think, throughout that time. Pick up some more XP, be able to grind through those tech trees, which are quite hard to actually do in my opinion. I think for the majority of players, the Soviet tech tree is an easier one to grind through. There's a lot of decent tanks between tiers 5 and to 7. That of which can't really be said for a lot of the other lines. Looking at some of the British ones between tiers 5 and 7, they can be pretty terrible. You've got lots of different ones to have a look at in terms of the Soviet ones. I think for the most part, if you look at the Russian mediums, they're always a good one between tiers 5 and 7, so you can pick those up for 50% silver, which is really, really good. So it's not going to cost you that much to grind through the lines, and now is a really good time, especially considering if you've completed the season pass to level 100, that means you'll get the extra 2 times XP, so you'll actually be on 2.25 times XP for the whole of that grind until the next week. That runs until the 20th of April, and then we'll have one more week to finalise this season, at which point it will reset to another season. Don't know what that is yet, not been given too much info as to that, but I'm expecting that the whole new game mode will come out on the 27th of April, as with Wargaming's post saying that it will be around then. Now, secondly, as part of this Soviet tech tree one, we've actually got a lot of tier 10 free XP vehicle discounts. So if you want to pick up any of the Soviet tier 10 from the premium tech tree, then you can actually pick them up for 20% less. That means that you'll actually be able to pick up the Object 907, the Object 260 Mod 1945, the T22 medium that got a recent buff as part of one of the other news videos that I did. I think that might have been last week's. And then the Object 279 early, so this is the heavy tank. Now, if you want to pick those up, there'll be 360,000 free XP per one. So if you want to pick them up, now is not a bad time, but it's not necessarily the best silver or free XP discounts I've seen. But certainly, if you want to get that 279E early, which is a fairly strong heavy tank in terms of the gameplay at tier 10. And then you've got the T22 medium, the recently buffed one. The 260 is also really, really strong in game and can be fantastic. And then we've got the 907, which is yet again really decent at tier 10. All of them are a good shout for you, and none of them are going to be particularly awful in game. Now, following the trend of Wargaming's recent additions of just selling tons and tons of premium tanks, as well as bundles, we've had commanders and stuff like that. I think this week is focused on the Soviet lines. You've got quite a few from the USSR, and the first one is the heavies. And now, in terms of whether this is worth it, in my opinion, just from looking at it, probably not. 17,000 gold. You're going to pick up the Minotaur KV5. It's like a buffed KV5, but even then, like considering it's buffed quite a lot, it does meet tier 10s, I believe, and it doesn't really have that much going for it other than the fact it can earn a lot of silver. The armour of the tank is really not that good. You're going to be able to be getting penned quite reliably by most tanks in the game. These cupolas are pretty weak, and I just find that the turret even is not that strong, to be honest with you. There's a cupola on the top of it which people can just snipe at, and you tend to not have that many good games in the KV5 from personal experience. DPM on this thing is pretty horrendous. So you've got 1500 DPM roughly, maybe coming up to 1700. It's not the worst of a heavy tank at tier 8, but it certainly isn't the best, and I'm pretty sure that you'll be able to have some decent games, but you don't really want to be trading, considering you do have a 107mm instead of a 120. Means, coming up against enemy heavy tanks, you'll not actually have the alpha advantage, and often you'll actually receive more damage than you'll take every single time. It's for someone who's trying to earn that extra silver, and that certainly does it in this tank. The standard rounds are actually okay at 227mm of penetration on its standard, which means you can actually go through most tanks through the front with that thing, so long as you aim at weak points. You do have 289mm of premium APCR penetration, so that's not actually too bad either. So if you're coming up against those tier 10 games, which you will in the Minotaur KV5, you might do alright. As for the other two tanks in the bundle, the Fatherland IS-3A, yes, it is an IS-3A, but it's not an IS-3A autoloader, if that makes sense. So this is a single shot. It's been available multiple times, and for the majority of you, you probably already have this as part of the Fatherland operations. I think there's been 3 lots of that. Not a very particularly great tank. It's kind of just a worse IS-3 in my opinion. But for those of you that are interested, I guess if you want to pick it up, then go ahead. But for me personally, the bundle, a lot of these you will already have, and they've thrown in some emblems to increase that gold cost of the bundle too. Yeah, not one I'd go for personally. Then we've got the mediums of the USSR. We've got the Motherland, the Talon T-44-122 and the T-34-88. Now in terms of the Motherland, this was a really, really good premium when it first got released. It's kind of been shoved to the back of the cupboard recently. I just don't think it's got the ability to be able to have that many good games anymore. I think there's plenty more mediums at this tier that are just better, and certainly I don't think it's going to be dealing that much more damage than anything else. As for the Talon T-44-122, this tank is kind of like a worse Motherland. It's just like a T-44 with this kind of horrible turret. It doesn't really work. This thing is just not particularly great, and I think that for the majority of you, this tank is something to avoid, and with most of these bundles, they're usually ones to avoid unless you really want them, or they've got a specific tank that you want. But for me, the two good tanks, Motherland is a good tank, but it's not overpowered. The T-34-88 overpowered, and the Talon T-44-122 is meh, like not that good, to be honest with you. It is a tier 7 though, so it's got that going for it. For 9,500 gold, I think that it's a shout, considering you can pick up a tier 8, a tier 7 and a tier 6. The tier 6 is probably the best tier for tier, but certainly you can have some fun with that. Then we've got the destroyers, the USSR. This one has the ISU-130, the Slayer SU-152 and the Shashka SU-130 PM. This so far is the best one out of these 3 that they've released as part of this. The ISU-130 has a really nice gun. You can actually fire really, really easily in this thing. It's got fairly decent rate of fire for a 130mm gun. You've got 5.83 rate of fire with 490 alpha damage that actually gets increased if you fire HESH rounds, or they must be like premium HE type thing, Russian HESH. You got 187mm of penetration with those, so that's really, really fun to play with. You've got that advantage of swapping between the rounds, and also HE does even more damage, so it's up to you which rounds you fire, and this certainly is a tank that could be interesting for those of you that like tanks like the ISU-152 and some of the other ones. It's got a decent earning potential, which makes it more available and something that you might want to actually get to earn a little bit of silver in. Standard rounds are the ones you want to be firing for most situations, but the 570 alpha damage premium rounds could actually come in useful against medium and lightly armoured tanks as well. Now in terms of the Slayer, this thing actually has really good DPM for a 152mm gun. This thing has 700 alpha, you've got 250 heat pen, which is pretty much what I'd be firing if I was playing this thing. You've got 3.45 rounds a minute, which means that you can probably boost up to about 2,600 DPM, if not more. You're probably looking at around 2,900 if you actually put on all of the DPM perks that you can and also the equipment. Yeah, I think this thing could be really fun to play, and certainly one at tier 7 that could be useful in game. I don't think that you're going to be earning that much silver because you are going to be having to fire premium and you only earn 135% silver, which isn't a great deal comparatively to the standard tech tree SU-152. Then we have the Shashka SU-130 PM. This is probably the most broken tier 8 tank destroyer, coming up with the Scorpion G. They're both very powerful in game and certainly ones that you want to kind of avoid ever getting hit by. The penetration on the standard rounds is fantastic, 243mm, which is more than enough to go through pretty much any tank in the game from the front, as long as you're aiming at weak points, other than the really heavily armoured tanks like the T110E3 from the front. You might need a bit of premium ammunition, but if you choose to fire that premium ammunition, there is no sacrifice to your damage. You just get a flat out 77mm more penetration on your rounds, which means that you are more than likely to go through the front of pretty much anything in the game. You're fast at 65 kilometers an hour forwards, absolutely rapid. You've got 1100 hit points, which isn't the best, but considering you can slap the opponents for 520, reload in approximately 13.9 seconds, get that down to probably around 11 or 10 seconds if you put all of the DPM perks and equipment on in terms of your loading time, and also some of the perks that reduce loading time on the commander systems as well. This tank has no armour, so that's a sacrifice. You will get literally hammered by every single tank in the game, and most of them will pen you with HE if they choose to fire that. They're going to be aiming at your turret to be able to take you out much quicker with their HE rounds, but most people don't really know about HE rounds and using them on lightly armoured tanks, so you know that you've got that benefit. It's only the best players or the better / more experienced players that are going to be able to notice when to fire HE at you in this thing. So for the majority of situations, this thing is going to be absolutely fantastic. You've not got the best traverse speed, 18 degrees a second, and your turret only moves in like a, I don't even know, it's not 180 degrees, but it's like slightly less than that. It's a bit of a cone. It is a turreted, but also a non-turreted TD, if you get what I mean. It's a bit like the FV4005, where you can only go a certain amount to each side. So yeah, if you want to pick this up, note that that is one key thing. This thing can actually get really good camo as well if you stick on some camo perks and also the advanced concealment equipment. So yeah, think about that as well when you're kitting out this tank if you do purchase this bundle. Overall, 13,000 gold. I think it's quite a good one if you want to pick up some Russian TDs. Do I think it's the best TD bundle that I've ever seen? Probably not, but then again, these tanks are all really fun to play. Then, finally, we've got, for the Russian lines anyway, we've got the light tanks from the USSR. We've got the Soviet Tier 6 T-50-2, a really good light tank at Tier 6. Absolutely fantastic, and you're going to have some really good games in it if you decide to pick this up. And also the LT-432 light tank, Tier 8. This thing is actually, it's a bit of an oaf actually when you're trying to move about in this thing, so it's not that particularly that maneuverable when you're going kind of mid-speed. It can go 65 kilometers an hour, but the traverse speed kind of lets this tank down, and it's kind of a bit of a weird one, to be honest with you. It's like a LT-43, well, it's like an LT-100 at tier 10, except it's just not as good. It's kind of like a tier 8 version. I think it can be fun for some of you, But for the majority of you and someone that's trying to get into light tanks for the first time, I don't think the LT432 is necessarily one for you, but it certainly can be used really effectively by more experienced players or players that have had a little bit more time on the game. That will cost you 5,855 gold and is definitely worth it if you want to pick up some light tanks from the Russian line, and it's not that expensive. But note that the LT432 isn't as good as it is on PC. Now, then we have two final ones. We've got the German Forces. This is a really good bundle in terms of the tanks that you get in it. Unfortunately, the Icebreaker is a little bit annoying to play and the Mutz is kind of left behind a little bit. So I guess in terms of the Iron Rain being in it, kind of boost that bundle up, but if you want to pick up a kind of varied bundle, then this is a good one. I think the Mutz is actually okay, but I don't think you're going to be having that many broken games in it. It certainly isn't one of the most overpowered medium tanks at tier 8. The Icebreaker, this tank is fairly weak in game, I'm not going to lie. I think the armour just doesn't really hold up enough at this tier, and a lot of tier 10s will just go straight through the front of you. You don't have armour. The lower plate seems to be pretty weak, even though, you know, it's not actually that weak. It's just that premium rounds of most tanks go through it, and for the majority of time you're just going to get penned through this turret as well, because I think it might be the stock VKB turret, which is really terrible. If you manage to give them any kind of angle on the side of the turret at all, yeah, you just get penned through the turret. I mean, as a bundle for 11,785, I don't think I'd buy it personally, but it's kind of an okay one if you want to pick up some very different tanks that are tank destroyer heavy and a medium. Then finally the last bundle this week is the Ziska Skoda T40, the Ragnarok T34-100 and the General T27. You've got two tier 8 medium tanks and a tier 6 medium tank. Basically, it's worth it if you want to pick up the Ragnarok, because that is actually really nice to play, and the General T27 is actually quite nice as well. This tank has a 2-shot autoloader, if I'm right in thinking. No, it actually has a 3-shot autoloader with 240 alpha in each one. You can have a 720 in total damage in your clip, which is not too bad. I think that this tank is actually really nice to play in game. It's kind of like a TVP VTU at tier 8, except it's got an autoloader and it's just better in every way, pretty much. Ragnarok is broken in game, and the Ziska is not a bad little tier 6, but it certainly isn't one that's going to be breaking the matchmaking down at this tier. Do I reckon you should pick this up? I think out of all of the ones this week, I think that these are the most overpowered premiums to actually pick up for 10,000 gold. Do I recommend spending £35 on the game? I don't know, that's up to you. I think out of them, if you're going to spend any money, then that one is the one I'd go for personally. Now the final bit of this video is just looking at the discounted premium tanks. This week we actually get 30% off pretty much every single Eastern European tank. So if you're trying to get some more in your garage, they will be at a 30% discount, all of the ones on screen right now. So if you want to have a look at those, then you can do. But I won't go into every single one of these. The ones I would like to pick out for you guys is the SU-122-44. This is a really, really nice tank in game, especially if you put all of the camo perks on. You can get it down to about 210 meters of concealment, which means you can basically never get spotted unless you fire or you use the camo mechanics wrong. Really, really good tank in game, and certainly one I'd recommend picking up. That's what this looks like. This is the SU-122-44, and the gun is just absolutely insane on this thing for a tier 7. Then we've got the SU-100Y. This is a really fun tank to play. It's at tier 6. It's got a really massive gun. This thing's huge and ogreish, but it will be fun if you play it. And just don't take it as if it's going to be like a super broken tank. It's just a fun one to play if you want to play that. Then I think as for the next ones, we've got the IS-2. The IS-2 is really good in game and certainly one I'd like to play. I did manage to get it for free. One of you actually sent me in a tank a gift. I was absolutely amazed that anyone actually sends me gifts on this game. It's fantastic, and I really do thank you. And then we've got like a few other ones in the game, like the E25, that I'd also recommend picking up. As far as the other ones, I don't think that I really have that much knowledge at tier 5 since I don't really drop down to tier 5. So the SU-85i I think is actually a good one. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't recommend buying premium tanks at tier 5 unless you just want a seal club, and I just don't think that you actually learn the game that much down at them tiers, and I think you're better off actually trying to play in the tier 8s and having some fun at tier 6 as well. So, E25 is also a really good one. I made a video about it, so if you want to know how to set this thing up at the 30% discount, then you can do after the end of this video. But other than that, I hope you guys found this video informative. That is the end of it. So, the E25 video should actually be on screen right now. If you want to check out more content, then remember to have a look on my YouTube channel in the icon down below, and also comment down with your suggestions and thoughts as to which tanks you'd actually pick up as part of this week, and what you think of Wargaming just continually releasing content for discounted prices and also just pushing people into buying premium tanks. I'm not sure how I feel about it. I think it does generate money for the development of this game, but I don't think it's necessarily the best way to go for the newer players that have been playing this game for just a little time to just have these pay to win tanks in the game all of the time. Other than that, I hope you guys did enjoy. If you did, hit that like button, subscribe for more, and I hope to see you in the next video. Goodbye.